everybody and welcome to number 27. I'm Jack and this is not the Sprite in the video. Why is that? Well, I recorded a really brief intro to the Sprite that you're going to see in a few seconds and for some reason it didn't come across, so I had to record another intro. Anyway, so here it is, just a very quick bit of background, and that is I have my lovely Frog Eye Sprite called Fred, which I've done an engine swap on. It's now got quite a hot, well, sort of hot road 1380 bored out Cooper style engine. And it needed setting up on a dyno, and Walmer Engineering, they're very, very good with these cars and these engines, so I wanted to get it set up. Whilst there, I know that Richard has a really crazy Mark II Sprite. So it's the same as my car, but it's a Mark II, so it has the sort of midget aesthetics. I'd seen and heard about this car, and I said to him, look, if I come and do the tuning on my own Sprite, I definitely want to be able to do a video on that. So I hope you enjoy it, because this thing is utterly mental and I love it. And while you're at it, if you get the chance, have a look at my videos on this, the Influenzo. This is a car I bought cheap at auction just before last lockdown. I've been trying to nurse back to health, probably without that much success recently. So I absolutely love this kind of irreverent take on a classic. So if you get a car which isn't, you know, one owner, absolutely pristine and new, doing something like this for me is totally acceptable. What was the story with this one, Richard? You got it from an old lady or something?
Yeah, so when I mate of mine dropped me a message saying there's a couple of Sprites in a little old lady's shed down the road. She's looking at getting rid of them. Are you interested? So went up to see them, wasn't expecting much, got there and my expectations were met. You know, there were two cars, two Mark IIs, both absolutely inch thick in dust and rat droppings and bird crap, and I mean it was horrendous, absolutely awful. And put a new battery on it, some fresh fuel in the carburetors, and first time it fired up. I could not believe it. Could not believe it. Got it up on a jack, and you know it's actually remarkably solid underneath, albeit very scruffy. Yeah. It had its original red bonnet on it, but the front end of that had rotted out quite badly. Yeah. And I didn't want to cut a hole in the original bonnet, you know, just in case I had wanted to put it back to standard. Yeah. For the first year or 18 months, I ran the car completely as I bought it. Yeah. So with the rebuilt brakes, standard 1100 engine, standard gearbox, you know, completely as I got it, as I pulled it out of the barn. I didn't even wash it. It was, you know, just used it exactly as it was. A mate of mine was going to Retro Rides gathering at Chelsea Walshill Climb. I don't know if you've been to that one.
No, but I've heard of it.
And he said, "Oh, you should come up." I said, "Oh, yeah, well, you know, I'd love to, but if I'm going to go, then I kind of want to take something up the hill, and, and I haven't got anything at the moment that I can do that with." And he said, "Well, well, why don't you do something with Mark II?" I'm like, "I suppose, yeah, okay, all right. Well, I'll see what bits I've got lying around." And at the time, I'd had an accident in my Austin A35 that I used to use for all my shows and that kind of stuff. So I had a full parts bin there because an A35 is the same as a Sprite, running gear wise. So we got it sitting a bit lower, and we got the engine in, and he then goes, my mate then goes, "Bet you won't make it do a burnout." I'm like, challenge accepted. Yeah. That's okay. So welded up a diff, put some strong half shaft in the back, fitted a line lock to lock the rear brakes off, so that I can still do a rolling burnout if I wanted to. So you kind of control it on the brake. Yeah. But then, with how low I was running it and the uprated engine, I couldn't get an exhaust underneath the car.
There's no clearance for an exhaust.
No, I mean I can't even get my shoe. I can't even get my shoe under the sill. You know? Yeah. So again, my mate went, "Bet you won't put the bonnet through the exhaust." Yeah. Sorry, the exhaust through the bonnet. And there she is.
There it is. That's absolutely amazing. So you're running negative 3 degrees of camber
about
at the front,
3 degrees
right?
of camber on the front to get the 8J wheels under the front arches. Unfortunately, the rears are still the standard wheels because I haven't got round yet to cutting the rear arches out and pulling those out. It's on the list of things to do, it just hasn't quite got there yet.
That's awesome. And engine and power-wise, it's going to be quite similar to mine, right?
Very similar.
It's a 1340.
1340.
And it has a 45, so it might put a bit more power, but it will have no torque because of this tiny little exhaust that's coming out of the bonnet. what's the starting procedure? I saw you fiddling with some wires.
So, plug those two together.
Okay, then I can hear the fuel
then,
pump,
and then pull the starter.
So it's neutral.
Yeah.
This thing is just hilarious. Okay.
So it should be the same as yours. So.
Yeah. That should be first.
Yeah, that should be first.
Just to be aware, it is quite an extreme car. It's not really ideal for the road or bumpy roads, so I'm not going to be driving it fast at all. And Richard has been kind enough to let me drive it, but he is quite nervous about it because it is a bit of a handful. So as I said, I won't really be pushing it. Hilariously, I mean, the whole car is just absolutely unbelievable. This has become a bucket seat almost just by dint of the fact that the seat, that it's collapsed.
Well, I'm 6'5", so I took all of the padding out the seat.
You took all the padding out? Perfect. Well, that is actually great because I sit lower than in mine, and this is a great idea for mine as well. I might take some of the padding out. You know, the accelerator doesn't have a pedal on it, but it works fine, and it's just like the whole car. It is just built to do what it needs to do with absolutely no frills. Obviously there's no gear lever. Funnily enough, it has exactly the same gearbox as my car. Let's go. Clutch is nice and progressive. Mine's much twitchier, much snappier. So far it feels, well, I don't really know how to describe it. It's just that the engine noise just dominates everything. So it has very little travel, but the travel it has, the suspension travel it has, is actually quite supple. So it's, you know, as long as you're not hitting the stops too much, and we're going so slowly now, it's all right. There's quite a bit of weight on the steering, which I guess you'd get with that amount of camber on it, and it's just like nothing else I've ever driven. So it is so low that it hits absolutely everything.
You could probably leave it in 4.
Sorry?
You could probably leave it in 4.
I know, I'm just having fun. So I really have to look at the road, right? Because every single thing.
So again, I'm just kind of used to it now.
Yeah.
Just watching the road as I go. Because any manhole covers, any raises.
It really has zero grip at the back.
Yeah, it's good.
Even at pretty slow speeds, you can feel it's about to go.
I think the rear tyres are about 15 years old.
At these speeds, it's fine. It's not that daunting. It's all right to drive. It's noisy, but.
tell you enough how much I love it. It's just the irreverence of it. It's the up to you to everybody. It's just like, you know, I'll do what I want and how I want it. And it is, you know, I drove it really slowly, but it's still fun to drive, and you can feel how pointy the front end is and how quickly the back end would come out if you gave it a chance. I didn't want to risk it this time out, but it is just a lot of fun. Now, it drives fairly normally at low speeds. It's just overwhelming how dominating that engine is. Also, and here sorry Richard, I mucked up a couple of times. It's so low that you have to keep a lookout everywhere you're going. You have to look out for any humps, dips, bumps, you know, anything on the road, because it will touch down. And at one stage a tractor was coming the other way, and as I would naturally in a car, there was a tiny dip on the road in the left, and I started to go towards it, and Richard started going, "Don't go off the road."
Don't drop it off, don't drop it off! Don't drop it off!
Sorry.
Road!
Sorry, buddy.
It's alright.
I just love the fun of it. It is so much fun. And it's tatty round the edges, but, you know, it's a solid car underneath. This isn't an example of what they do. This is very much a one-off. It's a car that ended up costing him very, very little. In the end, he almost got it for free. And he decided to do it like this for a bit of fun. But his other projects aren't done in this way. They're not quite as haphazard. But the haphazardness of it is really what I love about it so much. So thank you very much, Richard. I really appreciate having had your time and being able to drive this like just wicked little car. And yeah, thank you all. Please do follow, have a look at my own stuff on the Sprite. I've just taken that on the dyno, and I'll see you for the next one.